boys and girls. My name is Miss Carpenter, and I teach kindergarten at Norwood Elementary School. I'm so glad that you're joining us today for our learning time, and I'm thankful to have this opportunity to be with you today. This lesson is a review from last week's lesson with Mrs. Howard. If you already listened to this lesson last week with Mrs. Howard, then this week we'll learn even more, go deeper, and talk more about our text together. If you weren't with us last week, then this will be a new lesson for you, so welcome. Let's get started. Remember all of the work that we're doing that goes with this video today, the paperwork you can find online on Canvas through the Knox County Schools website, or so you can print it off at home, or you can pick it up at one of the food pickup locations. Today for our learning, we will review our sight words, review the letter L, decode and encode L words, read, listen, talk, and write about the text. If this video is hard to understand, you can do number 1, turn on closed captions if available. 2, adjust the playback speed to slow down the video. 3, consider watching short clips, then pause, listen, and watch again. Or 4, ask someone in your home to watch the video with you. You can stop frequently and talk with your partner about what you heard and understood. Let's get started with our speed drill. These are words you've learned in CARE. We'll start up here at the top with the word do and read left to right all the way to the bottom. Ready? Read. Do, are, they, you, that, are, she, do, that, with, of, they, you, do, are. Great job. We're going to do those one more time, but this time a little faster. You can stay with my cursor or my arrow you see on the screen. Ready, go. Do, are, they, you, that, are, she, do, that, with, of, they, you, do, are. Great practice. Next, we'll talk about the letter L. On this side of the paper, you see letter L. Remember, you might have this paper at home, but if you don't, just look on the screen and stay with me. This is letter L. We see the picture of the ladder because ladder begins with the sound ul. We know that the L stands for that sound ul. Say L, ladder, ul. Go. L, ladder, ul. Great. Now on this side of your page, we see a bunch of different pictures. Some of these pictures begin with that sound ul. If they begin with the sound ul, you can circle the picture or color it. If you don't have this paper, just look on the screen. Say ladder. Does ladder begin with the sound ul? Yes. Let's circle it or color it. Say lamp. Does a lamp begin with the sound ul? Yes. Say giraffe. Does giraffe begin with the sound ul? No, giraffe begins with the sound j. I won't circle that one. Say car. Does car begin with ul? No. Say leaf. Does leaf begin with the sound ul? Yes. Lion. Does a lion begin with the sound ul? Yes. What about pan? Say pan. No, pan does not begin with the ul sound. Great job. Now that we've practiced the letter L and the sound ul, let's look at some words that use that letter. When we look at words, we can decode those words to help us make the different sounds in the word and then blend it together to read it. So we're going to sound out this first word together. What's the vowel? A. What's the sound? A. Go back to the uppercase L, point, ready, make the sounds. Ul, a, d. Lad. Lad. What's the word? Lad. Boys and girls, I know a lad is another name for a little boy, but I noticed on this word it starts with an uppercase L. What do we know about words that begin with uppercase letters? They're names, that's right. So that tells me this word lad must be a name. Look at the other word over here. What's the vowel? A. What's the sound? A. Go back to the L, make the sounds go. L, A, P, L, A, P, lap. What's the word? Lap. I see a picture underneath the word lap. When you sit down, the top of your legs is called your lap. I notice the cat is sitting on the boy's lap. Next, we'll move on to encoding words. When we encode words, we listen for the sounds in the word and write down the letters that stand for those sounds. Let's do the first word together. Say lot. What's the first? Let's make the sounds in the word lot. Ready? Lot. Lot. What's the first sound in lot? L. What letter? L makes that sound. L stands for the sound L. What's the next sound in lot? L, ah. What sound? Ah. What letter? O. What's the last sound in lot? L, ah, t. T. What sound? T. What letter? T. You can write these letters in your boxes at home, and if you don't have the paper, remember you can just follow along with me on the screen. Look at the picture of the butterflies. There are a lot of butterflies. Lot means many, so there are many or a lot of butterflies. Let's do another word together. Say lid. Let's make the sounds in lid. L-I-D. Lid. What was the first sound? L. What letter? L. Next sound in lid? L-I. What sound? I. What letter? I. What's the last sound in lid? L-I-D. What sound? D. What letter? D. What word did we build? Lid. I see a picture of a lid. Boys and girls, you use a lid to put on top of something else. You can close something with a lid. This lid goes to a pot. I use this lid on my pot when I'm cooking. Now that we've practiced decoding and encoding some words that begin with the ol sound, now we're going to read together and see some of those words in our story. Let's point to the title at the top. Ready? Help me read. Ad, lad. We just talked about the word lad. Remember, we learned lad is someone's name. Next word, and me. The title of our story is Lad and Me. When I look at the picture, I see a boy and a cat. I notice the cat is wearing a collar with his name on it. What does the cat's name tag say? Lad. That's right. So this title, Lad and Me, Lad is referring to the cat. The cat's name is Lad. And Me is referring to the boy. The boy is telling us a story about the cat and himself. Today, when we're reading our story, I want you to listen for the verbs in this story. We know a verb is an action word or a word that tells something you can do. So I want you to listen in the story for what Lad can do. What can Lad do? Let's read the story together to find out. Point, ready, read. Lad is my cat. Cat. Lad is little. Do you like Lad? Okay, so this story has told us something about Lad. What do we know about Lad? We know he's little, and we also know that the cat belongs to the boy because he says, Lad is my cat. Do these things tell us anything that the cat can do? No. Let's keep reading to find out what he can do. Read page 2. I like Lad. Lad can sit in my lap. Lap. Let's read that one more time. Lad can sit in my lap. Does this tell us something Lad can do? What does it say he can do? That's right, he can sit. I'm going to highlight that word sit so I will remember that is something Lad could do. Where does Lad sit? That's right, he likes to sit on the boy's lap. Let's keep reading. Lad can sit a lot. Lot. I remember lot means many. So the cat, Lad, likes to sit a long time on the boy's lap. Let's turn the page. Page 3, point, ready, read. Lad can hop, hop. Is that a verb? Did that tell something Lad can do? It does. Let's highlight that word also so that way we remember that hop and sit are two things Lad can do. Keep reading. Lad can hop a lot. Lot. I remember on the other page he liked to sit a lot, and on this page he likes to hop a lot. That means he likes to hop many times. Last sentence, I can do that. So the boy likes to hop with Lad the cat. Let's move on to page 4. Ready, read. Lad can hop on the lid. Lid. Do you see Lad? Where is he in the picture? He's on the lid, on the top of the box, isn't he? How did he get up there? He hopped up there. Is hop a verb? It is. It tells what he did. It tells you something you can do. But remember, we already know that Lad the cat can hop. So I don't need to remember that again because I already highlighted it on the other page. Let's keep reading. I can do that. Are we on the lid? Do you see the boy on the lid with Lad? No, it's just Lad up there on the lid, isn't it? Today in our story, I wanted you to listen for the verbs, what Lad could do. Can you remember 2 things Lad could do? He could sit and hop. We're going to write a sentence today about what Lad the cat can do. Before we write our sentence, I want to make sure we look at this 5-star writing rubric to help us make sure we know how good writers write. The blue star reminds us when I write my sentence, I start with a capital letter. The green star reminds us to use a punctuation mark at the end of our sentence. The pink star reminds us to use finger spaces between our words. The yellow star reminds you to use neat handwriting. And the red star reminds you to make sure your sentence makes sense. So today I'm asking this question, what can Lad the cat do? We know Lad the cat could do 2 things from our story. I remember details from our story. Lad the cat could sit and hop. So today I want you to write this sentence. Lad can sit and hop. Will you say that with me? Go. Lad can sit and hop. What's the first word? Lad. Go ahead and write the word lad on your paper. I remember lad begins with the sound ul. What letter stands for that sound? L. But I also remember lad is the cat's name, and this is the first letter in our sentence. So be sure you made a capital L when you wrote the word lad. Make your finger space. What's the next word? Lad can. Go ahead and write that word. Good. Lad can sit. It. Sit. Go ahead and write that word. Lad can sit and. Lad can sit and hop. Hop. When you're finished with your sentence, you can put a period at the end. We will put a period at the end of our sentence today because this is a telling sentence. Let's check our sentence with the rubric. Did we start with a capital letter? Yes. Do we have punctuation at the end of our sentence? Yes, we put a period. Do you have spaces between your words? Yes. Did you use neat handwriting? Yes. Read your sentence to make sure it makes sense. Go. Lad can sit and hop. That does make sense. It also answered the question about what Lad can do. We use details from our text to write a sentence about what Lad can do. We've worked hard so far. Let's take a break and kiss our brains. Give your brains a kiss for all that thinking they're having to do to help you learn. Today, you've talked about the letter L. You've decoded and encoded words. We read lad and me together. And now it's time to listen, talk, and write about our text. Today, we will identify events in the story that make Percy expect to win the art contest. When we're reading today, we're going to be thinking about a lucky adventure. I know that before we left, we were reading a story about the piglet and the fox in My Lucky Day, and we asked, what is a lucky adventure in that story? Today, I'm going to read you another story about a lucky adventure. While I'm reading, I want you to pretend like you're a detective or a sleuth. A detective has to look for clues, ask questions, make your case, and prove how you solved the mystery. Today, your mystery in our story is being able to identify some events in the story that make Percy expect to win the art contest. So we'll look for some clues to help us answer that question and ask questions along the way. You'll share your ideas about what you remember from the story, and then we've got to prove it. How do we know some of those things from the text that help us solve the mystery? Last week you read a text about a guy who was always lucky. However, he was not lucky when he lost the art contest for doing a sloppy job on his work. Your task was to draw a picture of Percy when he finds out he didn't win the art contest. Label the picture using one or two details from the text, and then you were asked to write one or two sentences about your picture. So I completed this task after I listened to the story, and I drew a picture using details from that text. I drew a Melda, and I wrote her name Melda. I wrote above her in a speech bubble, I won! She is so excited because she won the art contest, so I drew her picture with the prize. On this side, I remembered this man's name was Percy, so I wrote his name Percy. I drew this picture of his artwork, and above him I wrote in a speech bubble too. This time I wrote this word, W-H-A-T, what? And I wrote a question mark and an exclamation mark. I wrote a question mark because Percy's asking, what? I didn't win? And I wrote an exclamation mark because he's shocked that he didn't win. So when I read this word in his speech bubble, whoops, let me go back, sorry. When I read this word in his speech bubble, I say, what? Because he's shocked and he's asking a question. Those were details I remembered from the text. I also wrote some sentences to go with my picture. I wrote, Percy did not win. And my next sentence said, he, W-A-S, was, that's a word I know, was, S-H makes the sound. Oh, S and H are the letters that stand for the sound sh. So this word says shocked. Shocked with the exclamation mark at the end. He was shocked. I'll read those sentences again. Percy did not win. He was shocked. Those sentences match my picture. And those sentences also were details I remembered from the text. I used my 5-star writing rubric to help me write my story. Today, after I read to you the same story Miss Howard read to you last week, you're going to be asked to do a different task. I would like for you to remember that 5-star writing rubric when you complete your task, and you can also think about my work today, Miss Carpenter's work that I did. I tried my best, and that's what I want you to do on your task today too. Today, remember, you're pretending to be a detective or a sleuth to help us answer this question and to help us solve our case. We want to identify events in the story that make Percy expect to win the art contest. So you've got to listen for clues in our story to help us with that. Before we read, let's go over some words you might hear in the story that you don't know. Say lucky. This is a picture of a 4-leaf clover. 4-leaf clovers are hard to find. So if you find one, you would be lucky. Lucky means something good happens to you. Here's another word, confetti. Confetti is something you might see at a celebration or a party. You might throw it in the air, or it might explode out of a balloon when you're celebrating. It's called confetti. Say Italy. Italy is the name of a country. It is far away from here, so you would have to travel in an airplane to get there. It's a beautiful country with lots of different yummy foods like pizza and spaghetti, beautiful old buildings, and lots of fun activities. It would be fun to visit Italy. Remember, today you're pretending to be a detective, so let's listen for some of those clues that help us think about why Percy thought he was going to win the art contest. A lucky guy. Percy Bly was a very lucky guy. When a $20 bill landed on the sidewalk, Percy found it. I'm going to stop for a moment because did something just happen to Percy that made him lucky? He's so lucky. He found $20. I highlighted that word to help me remember. That's a clue. He was lucky. When anyone offered a reward for anything, Percy got it. What did Percy get? A reward? That's lucky. You don't have to work for a reward. It's just given to you. I'll highlight that. That's a clue. Reward. When a store was giving $1,000 to its 1 millionth customer, Percy walked through the door at just the right time. Horns sounded and confetti fell. This is a celebration. Something lucky just happened to him. What did he win? $1,000. That's a clue. Those things help us remember, Percy's pretty lucky. Those are some clues to tell us why he thinks he's so lucky and why he might win this art contest. Let's keep reading. How does it feel to be so lucky? Asked a newspaper reporter. It's no big deal, Percy said modestly. Everyone is lucky sometimes. But Percy knew no one was as lucky as he was. He was lucky so often that he started to depend on his luck. Why should he do anything when his luck would bring him everything? Let's stop here for a moment and think about that. Remember, Percy's been very lucky so far in this story. He found $20, he got rewards, and he won $1,000. Those are some things that make Percy feel pretty lucky. Now he thinks that he doesn't have to work for things because he's so lucky. Let's keep reading. One day the town held an art contest. The top prize was a trip to Italy. Percy slapped some colorful blotches on a sheet of paper and submitted it to the art contest. Then he started packing his suitcase because he expected to win as usual. Boys and girls, has Percy won the contest? He has not, but remember, Percy thinks he's very lucky. He thinks he doesn't have to try hard to win things because he's so lucky. Remember those things that made him feel lucky? Let's keep reading to find out if he's lucky this time. And the top prize goes to Melda Osment for her work titled Sunset on the Plains. Percy sat with his mouth hanging open. How could this happen? He always won. He walked over to look at Imelda's painting. It was beautiful. The clouds in the sky and the grass on the plains were made of many tiny strokes of paint in dozens of colors. Next to Imelda's painting, his slapdash picture looked, well, awful. Percy stood for a long time looking at the two pictures. So here's Imelda's painting, and here's Percy's painting. Congratulations, Imelda, Percy said. Your painting is wonderful. It's definitely the best one. Why, thank you, Percy, Imelda said. It took a lot of time and work, but it was worth it. She looked at her painting with pride. Boys and girls, did Percy spend a lot of time or work on his artwork? He did not. Does he feel very proud of it? No. He didn't get very lucky this time, did he? He didn't work very hard to win this contest. So the moral is, what you get from your own efforts is more rewarding and reliable than what you get from luck. Remember, today you were my detectives. Did you guys find some clues in our story today? Can you identify some events in the story that made Percy expect to win the art contest? We can remember to the beginning of the story how Percy found $20, he got a reward, and he won $1,000. Those are some things that made Percy feel lucky. So today we listened and talked about our text to identify events in the story that make Percy expect to win the art contest. Your task today is to draw and label events in the story that make Percy expect to win the art contest. Then write 1 or 2 sentences about these events. If you finish that task, you can move on to the extended challenge. There are 2 things you can do after you finish your first task. Number 1, draw or write about a time when you worked really hard on something and felt proud of your work. 2, you could pretend you are a reporter. Ask someone in your family about a time when they worked hard on something and felt proud, and you can write about it. Remember to use our 5-star writing rubric and use details from the text while you're completing these tasks. Today we've worked hard together. We reviewed letter L, we decoded and encoded words together, we read Lad and Me, we listened and talked about a lucky guy, and you were given a task to draw and label events in the story that make Percy expect to win the art contest. Then you can write 1 or 2 sentences about these events. Remember, we're using details from the text that Ms. Carpenter just read to you about a lucky guy. I am so glad you joined me today for our learning time, and I hope that you get to join us next week as well. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.